All right, let's dive right into today's explainer because we've got an incredibly dramatic and satisfying story lined up for you. We're looking at a powerful narrative straight out of Kanpur Dahat that perfectly illustrates the ultimate triumph of good character over sheer vanity. Honestly, this isn't just your standard story. It's a literal masterclass in how our mindset completely dictates our destiny. I'm so pumped to break this down for you.
So, here's the core question we're going to be unpacking. Can money actually buy respect? Or does karma always eventually collect its dues? Keep that in the back of your mind as we trace the parallel lives of two sisters who chose completely different paths. Because, spoiler alert, the way life answers that question for these two women is nothing short of spectacular. Section 1. The Two Sisters. To truly get this story, we've got to look at where it all started, right in the modest home of a man named Rajesh Tiwari. Now, the contrast between Rajesh's two daughters was basically night and day. The older sister, Radha, was so incredibly calm, kind, and humble that the local villagers literally compared her to a goddess. They'd say whoever married her was going to turn their home into an absolute heaven. But then you look at her younger sister, Sunita, and wow, completely different vibe. Sunita was beautiful, sure, and she definitely thought she was the smartest person in the room. But listening to everyone praise her sister just planted these deep, toxic seeds of jealousy. She let her vanity and this burning obsession with high status completely hijack her mindset. To really wrap your head around Radha's nature, think about those adorable viral videos of an AI baby just innocently trying to babble its first words, going, "Hello, Papa?" It's that level of pure, completely uncorrupted innocence that perfectly captures Radha's quiet grace. She totally knew Sunita harbored all these negative feelings, but she just absorbed her younger sister's petty taunts with absolute patience, really hoping she'd just grow out of it. Section 2. Choosing different paths. As the girls grew up, the time came for them to marry. And as we'll see, their completely opposite mindsets locked in their ultimate destinies. The divergence here is just wild. Radha happily accepted an arranged marriage to a guy named Raghav. Now, Raghav was a poor farmer. He lived in this tiny, thatched-roof house, but he was incredibly honest, fiercely supportive, and truly loving. Sunita? She was gloating over landing Nikal. Nikal was this rich businessman with a massive house, a whole team of servants, and luxury cars. But the catch? He had absolutely zero time for any kind of emotional connection and a seriously arrogant streak. Sunita actually mocked Radha, basically telling her to enjoy a life of bonded labor, right before driving off into her flashy new reality. Section 3. The Illusion of Wealth. Unsurprisingly, Sunita quickly became completely intoxicated by her luxurious new lifestyle. She started treating her servants terribly, completely forgot her roots, and went out of her way to mock her sister's poverty. But here's the thing about her financial security. It was incredibly fragile. It actually reminds me a lot of that old cautionary tale about Dadaji's magic mango tree. You know the one? A grandfather uses this magical medicine to force a barren tree to sprout thousands of mangoes, making him instantly, massively wealthy. But then the growth spirals totally out of control, takes over his house, swallows the village, and ends in a complete, tearful disaster. It goes to show that unearned, artificially boosted wealth, especially wealth without a solid foundation of character, almost always implodes. And Sunita, she was living in her very own magic mango tree. Sunita's arrogance really hit its absolute peak during the Teej festival. Both sisters went back to their hometown. Radha showed up in a very simple sari, while Sunita practically arrived draped in jewels and this expensive silk lehenga. In front of all the village women, Sunita cruelly mocked Radha, asking out loud if Raghav could even afford to feed her. But the sheer irony here, Sunita was completely blind to the fact that her own husband, Nikal, basically treated her like a well-dressed servant. His rule was, ask no questions, just enjoy the money. She had absolutely zero respect in her own home. Section 4. The Turning Point. Let's see how the scales of karma finally start to drastically tip in opposite directions. Tracking Sunita's downfall is crazy because her opulent little world collapsed with terrifying speed. On day 1, a massive debt-funded order gets canceled by a major client. By week 2, the crushing debt is piling up fast. By month 1, her mother-in-law, Kamala, the same woman who used to praise Sunita's beauty, completely turns on her and actually confiscates all of Sunita's jewelry just to cover the debts. And by month 2, Nikhil's shop shuts down entirely.
The cars were sold off, the servants were fired, and Sunita was left holding nothing. Meanwhile, on the exact opposite side of the spectrum, let's check in on Radha and Raghav. They were grinding, working side by side. Instead of just wallowing in their poverty, Raghav made a really smart, strategic business pivot. They were already growing fresh vegetables, but instead of selling them to the middlemen at the local wholesale mandi, Raghav skipped them entirely and took the produce directly to the city. That one simple shift, it led to a massive 10,000 rupee profit in a single day. Through pure teamwork and mutual respect, they were building real, unshakable financial stability. Section 5. Karma Strikes Back. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that wealth without character cannot survive real hardship. And Sunita was about to learn this the hard way. With the money completely wiped out and their house on the verge of being sold, Sunita's mother-in-law brutally threw her out into the pouring rain. She literally called Sunita a curse, a Kulakshani who brought bad luck to their entire family, stripping away the very last ounce of Sunita's false pride. And you want to know the most shocking part? Her husband Nickel just stood there in dead silence. He offered absolutely zero support. Stripped of her arrogance, her fancy jewelry, and her precious status, a completely broken Sunita had to return to her father's home, carrying just a single suitcase. She just wept to her dad, finally facing the horrifying truth. That wealth she bragged about for years, it was 100% conditional. To her husband's family, she was never an actual partner. She was just an accessory to be tossed out the second times got tough. When Radha heard the news, she immediately rushed over to her father's house. And when she walked in, Sunita didn't lash out this time. Instead, she collapsed at her older sister's feet, crying, and delivered this incredibly powerful realization. She said, "A person is not known as good or bad by their money, but by their character and behavior." She openly admitted that her suffering was the direct result of her own terrible karma and her past mockery of Radha. Section 6. Redemption and True Character. The real beauty of this explainer is that rock bottom finally became the solid foundation Sunita needed to build a real life. Radha, being who she is, forgave her instantly. And check out what happened next. Sunita moved in with Radha and Raghav and actually joined them out in the fields. She endured the calloused hands and the completely aching back to truly learn the value of hard work. And as their vegetable business started booming, the sisters pooled their savings and took a massive leap. They opened a restaurant in the city. Through sheer, relentless hustle, that restaurant became wildly successful. They literally became famous in their region, earning this incredibly cool title, the Startup Icon Girls. Sunita completely transformed from a discarded trophy wife into a self-made entrepreneur. And then, guess who shows up? Talk about a satisfying moment of karmic justice. Nikhil suddenly reappears. He heard about his estranged wife's new fortune, so he rolls up to her father's house claiming he realized his mistake. Right. But Sunita was not that naive, status-obsessed Carmel anymore. She saw right through the guy. She fiercely rejected him, looking him dead in the eye and telling him he only remembered she existed because she was rich again. She exposed his greed to everyone and, right alongside her family, kicked him straight out of the house. With all that toxic baggage finally in the rearview mirror, Radha and Raghav helped Sunita find a genuinely good guy named Amit. Because she finally possessed strong character and a real understanding of what actually matters in this world, Sunita was able to experience a true marriage, one built on mutual respect, partnership, and love, rather than hollow bank accounts and fake social status. Ultimately, what you should really take away from this explainer today is this. Wealth buys convenience, for sure, but character and hard work are what build a true life. Money might buy temporary comfort, it might buy you a massive house or designer clothes, but when the inevitable storms of life hit, it's humility, grit, and unshakable good character that actually keep you standing. Arrogance will always eventually break you, but character will always rebuild you. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If you literally lost everything you owned tomorrow, would the person you are on the inside be enough to build it all back?